For nearly a decade, his name sat quietly on wanted lists, fading from headlines but never from the case files. Alejandro Rosales Castillo vanished after 2016, and for almost 10 years, investigators believed he had slipped beyond reach. Then, in Pachuca Hidalgo, Mexico, everything ended. Federal officials reported Saturday that the man accused of murder had finally been captured, closing one of the longest-running manhunts tied to a workplace killing that shocked the community and haunted a victim's family. Castillo was wanted in connection with the death of his co-worker, Truc Quan Sandy Ly, whose body was discovered in 2016. At the time, the case appeared disturbingly simple on the surface and deeply unsettling beneath it. Sandy Ly was described by those who knew her as hard-working and quiet, someone who showed up, did her job, and went home. She had no known enemies, no history of violent conflict, and no obvious reason anyone would want her dead. That was part of what made the crime so alarming. Investigators say the two worked together, sharing shifts in space in a routine environment that suddenly became the center of a homicide investigation. When Sandy was found dead, authorities quickly determined her death was not accidental. Evidence pointed to violence, and suspicion narrowed towards someone she knew, someone who had access, someone who had been close enough to avoid immediate detection. According to officials, that person was Alejandro Rosales Castillo. What happened next raised even more questions. Castillo did not stay to explain himself. He did not cooperate with investigators. Instead, he disappeared. In the days following the discovery of Sandy's body, law enforcement attempted to locate Castillo for questioning, only to realize he was already gone. His sudden absence transformed him from a person of interest into a fugitive. Authorities allege Castillo fled the United States shortly after the killing. His trail went cold, and despite efforts by local, state, and federal agencies, years passed with no confirmed sightings. The case remained open, but leads were scarce. Sandy's family waited year after year for answers, while investigators quietly kept the file active, revisiting evidence, following tips, and watching for any sign that Castillo might resurface. Behind the scenes, the case never truly stopped. Federal officials say the search for Castillo continued through coordination with international partners. His name was entered into databases, alerts were circulated, and any potential match was examined. Investigators believe he had returned to Mexico, but without a precise location, making an arrest proved difficult. Castillo was believed to be living under the radar, avoiding attention, blending into daily life, and relying on the fact that time can dull urgency. But time also works against fugitives. According to federal officials, the breakthrough came through sustained intelligence gathering and cooperation with Mexican authorities. Over time, investigators began to piece together fragments of information suggesting Castillo was living in or around Pachuca, a city in the central Mexican state of Hidalgo. Pachuca is not a border town, not an obvious place for someone on the run to hide, which may have been exactly why he chose it. Officials say Castillo had established a low-profile existence. He was not flaunting wealth. He was not drawing attention. He was, by design, unremarkable. That, investigators believe, helped him evade capture for years. However, as databases improved and cross-border cooperation strengthened, the margin for error shrank. Federal authorities report that once Castillo's location was sufficiently confirmed, a coordinated operation was put into motion. Mexican federal agents, working alongside U.S. counterparts, moved carefully to avoid alerting him. They monitored his movements, verified his identity, and waited for the right moment. Officials emphasized that the operation was conducted deliberately, prioritizing safety and ensuring there would be no opportunity for Castillo to flee again. When agents finally moved in Pachuca, the arrest itself was described as controlled and without public incident. Castillo was taken into custody by Mexican authorities. According to officials, he did not resist. After nearly 10 years on the run, the manhunt was over. Federal officials confirmed Saturday that Castillo's capture marked a major development in the long-running murder case. While details about his immediate extradition process were not fully disclosed, authorities indicated that legal proceedings would follow, and that the goal is to have him return to face charges related to Sandy Ly's death. For Sandy's family, The arrest is the first tangible step toward justice in nearly a decade for investigators. It is confirmation that time does not erase accountability. Officials involved in the case reiterated that fleeing does not mean freedom, and that even years later, suspects can and will be found. The circumstances surrounding Sandy's death remain central to the case. Investigators have long maintained that evidence tied Castillo to the crime scene and to the events leading up to her killing. While many specifics have not been publicly released to protect the integrity of the prosecution, authorities have consistently stated that the case against him did not weaken with time. If anything, they say, advancements in forensic analysis and record-keeping have only strengthened it. What makes this case particularly chilling is its ordinariness. This was not a random act committed by a stranger in the night. According to investigators, it involved co-workers, a familiar environment, and a sense of trust that was allegedly betrayed. That reality has kept the case alive in the minds of those who worked it, even as years pass without an arrest. Officials also use the announcement of Castillo's capture to highlight the importance of international cooperation in modern fugitive cases. They noted that crimes do not stop at borders, and neither can investigations. The arrest in Pachuca, they said, would not have been possible without sustained communication between agencies in two countries, shared intelligence, and a commitment to seeing the case through. As Castillo now faces the legal consequences of his alleged actions, questions remain. What exactly happened in 2016? What led to Sandy Ly's death? And what did Castillo do during nearly 10 years as a fugitive? Those answers are expected to emerge as the case moves forward through the justice system. For now, federal officials say the focus is on ensuring Castillo is held accountable in court. The capture is not the end of the story, but it is a critical turning point. A man who once vanished has been found. A case that seemed frozen in time is moving again. And a family that has waited almost 10 years may finally be closer to hearing the truth about what happened to Truc Quan Sandy Ly. Authorities emphasize that this case sends a clear message. You can run, you can hide, you can disappear for years. But the investigation does not stop. And eventually, the knock on the door comes, even if it takes nearly a decade, even if it happens thousands of miles away, in a city where you thought no one was looking. But the reckoning is just beginning. Stay with us as we break down the manhunt, the arrest strategy, and what happens now that Alejandro Rosales Castillo is finally in custody.